Perspective, Thursday, November 3rd, 7, 9 p.m. on KBLA Talk 1580. All episodes of this special series are available in podcast and video format on KBLA1580.com and on the KBLA app. And be sure to vote by or on Tuesday, November 8th.
Batman! Get your money! Batman! 1, 2, 3, I'm gonna try to keep it coming. Things ain't always smooth, but I'll be alright as long as I can find the groove. Yes, I will. My style. Don't you worry, I'm gonna be around a while. Yes, I will. I'm just happy to see you come to me back in time again.
Live from the Merck Park, USA, I'm Tavis, Smiley. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. So glad to see you and me back in stride again. Our phone number, 1-800-920-1580. 1-800-920-1580. All of our socials can be found at KBLA 1580. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, everything at KBLA 1580. Let me also invite you to download our app right now at KBLA 1580. Download the app and take us with you anywhere in the world and listen to us in real time, but only if you download the app right now at KBLA 1580. Let me also tell you that should you miss us any day in real time, check out the podcast of our program by going to the app, the website, Anchor, Spotify, Apple, so many places to get the podcast of this program and listen at your leisure should you miss us any day in real time on the app, but I am delighted to have you along live with us today for the next 3 hours. Let me also invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get Twitter updates at Tavis Smiley. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, one of the premier motivational speakers in the nation, Jeremy Anderson, on what he calls next level living. Jeremy travels the globe inspiring folk with his personal story of overcoming some pretty major obstacles in his own life, and now he's training others how to market their message to the world. Motivational speaker Jeremy Anderson in hour 2. In our third hour, just 1 week away from Election Day, who will control the U.S. Senate? It's anyone's guess. The fight for the majority is a dead heat. There are essentially 5 races that will determine the outcome. Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Georgia will speak with Ira Shapiro, author of Broken. Can the Senate save itself and the country? Let's do that one more again. The book is Broken. Can the Senate save itself and the country? We'll talk to Ira Shapiro, Senate expert, when we get to hour 3. But in this first hour today, we're joined by our chief national political affairs analyst and the moderator of A More Perfect Union, heard Sundays on the 10s right here on KBLA Talk 1580, Dr. Nee Quarterly Corte. Nee Quarterly is also the moderator of the final episode in our Agenda for America series that will take place this Thursday night, 7 to 9 p.m., Thursday, November 3rd, that is, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific, only on KBLA Talk 1580. The conversation will feature an all-star panel, including Secretary of State Shirley Weber, Superintendent of Public Instruction Tony Thurmond, L.A. County Supervisor Holly Mitchell, Assemblyman Isaac Bryan, and more. So don't miss Agenda for California, an African-American perspective, this Thursday, November 3rd, 7 to 9 p.m., only on KBLA Talk 1580. By the way, all episodes of this special series are available in podcast and video format on KBLA1580.com and, of course, on the KBLA app. So this is the last in our 5-part series called Agenda for America. This one, Agenda for California. A brilliant panel assembled by Nee Quarterly Corte. Again, he'll be moderating that panel this Thursday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific time, only on KBLA Talk 1580. So many of you, I want to thank you, by the way. So many of you have hit up our socials and emails and text messages and and even snail mail. So much correspondence from everyday people who've been listening to this series, who've been empowered by it. So thank you for all of your outreach. I feel bad sometimes. So much stuff comes in, and we can't respond to all of it in real time. But thank you for listening to the series, Agenda for America, and I know you'll be inspired, empowered, and enlightened by the final episode this Thursday night. Again, moderated by our guest in this hour, Nee Quarterline Corte. That said, so many trending topics, so little time. Nee Quarterline, let's go. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Good morning, Tavis. How are you doing?
I'm doing the best I can. If I complain, brother, I'd be an ingrate. So I'm glad to have you on. Let me start with this, and we'll go from there. Again, so much to talk about in this hour in terms of trending political topics, given that we're just 7 days away from the big day, midterm elections in this country. I suppose the place to start is with Paul Pelosi. It is perhaps the biggest trending political story. I know you've been covering it on your, not just your show on Fox Soul, The Black Report, but I've been following your commentary about this as well. So tell me how you see this story developing. And let me preface it by saying this. I've been just sort of chagrined in the last couple hours, last 48 hours, I should say, last couple of days, by the ways in which the conspiracy theories have really jumped on this thing and made it about everything but what it's really about, which is a politically motivated violent attack on the husband of the Speaker of the U.S. House. And yet these conspiracy theories, I won't waste my time running through them, but the range of stories being pushed out by people like Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Dinesh D'Souza, I mean, major figures in this country are advancing these outrageous conspiracy theories about what this attack really is all about. How are you reading the way this story of an attack on this elder, frankly, is being politicized?
The attack on Paul Pelosi, the attempted attack on Nancy Pelosi is absolutely frightening. I think not only are the people of the San Francisco Bay Area, where I come from, not only are folks reeling from this there, but I think folks are reeling across the country. We're seeing an uptick in political violence. It wasn't that long ago where we were reporting on a really strange story of, two guns from the safe of Karen Bass, being stolen from her house after somebody broke into her house, right? And thank God, nothing has become of that, but, the fact that you have this conspiracy theorist that broke into the home of the Speaker of the House, violently assaulted her husband, attempted to kill her husband, essentially, and had plans to take hammer in an attempt to demonstrate to the world, the consequences, of advancing her political beliefs. It is absolutely outrageous. There are not enough Republican members, Republican elders that have come out and have absolutely made clear, that this kind of political discourse is un-American. Is un-American, and so I know on Fox Soul's Black Report I had a chance to talk to Mark Morial about this late last week, because a lot of people are wondering, well, if the Speaker's husband isn't safe, well, what about members of the Congressional Black Caucus? What about folks like Congresswoman Maxine Waters is a very high profile, not just member of the CBC, but member of Congress. The same is true of Representative Benny Thompson, who is chairing the January 6th committee. How safe are they? How safe are their spouses? And so right now at this hour, there are not a lot of members, quite frankly, Tavis, that feel comfortable even having the conversation around their safety. And that's according to, sources of mine that I've spoken to as recently as this morning. And so, we're only days away from the midterm elections, where the consequences, the consequences of people not turning out to vote, not making very clear that they are willing to support people that are on the side of democracy, not the people that are against it, not the people that are engaged with the people people that are working very hard to bring people together and turn down the temperature in terms of the kind of political discourse that leads people that are peddling in conspiracy theories to act on them.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot more to talk about with regard to the Pelosi story. I got a couple more questions I want to ask you, Quarterline, about that. Affirmative action is before the U.S. Supreme Court. They started hearing two cases yesterday, one involving Harvard, one involving University of North Carolina. So affirmative action is on the docket at the U.S. Supreme Court. Of course, midterms, as I said earlier, 1 week away from today. And in the state of Georgia, this race between Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock is really heating up. If you haven't already heard this clip, I'm going to play it for you right now. So there's a clip that has gone viral. It's a clip of a guy I've known for years, a friend of mine named Jamal Harrison Bryant. Jamal is the pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church right outside of Atlanta in Lithonia, Georgia. But this is what he had to say about the race involving Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock, the sitting U.S. Senator from Georgia. Ebenezer Baptist Church, the church that was once pastored by Dr. King and his father, Daddy King. So Raphael Warnock is the pastor of Ebenezer, won that Senate race some time ago, and is now running for a full term in a tight race, a very tight race, a dead heat race against Herschel Walker, former NFL player, former Heisman Trophy winner. So it's a tight race between these two black men in the state of Georgia. This clip has gone viral literally around the world. When we come forward, we'll talk again about Paul Pelosi and all of these Senate races, but this clip has got everybody talking about the race in Georgia. After the clip, we'll come forward and continue our conversation with Dr. Nee Quarterline-Cortez. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. Play the clip.
Ladies and gentlemen, when the Republican Party of Georgia moved Herschel Walker from Texas to Georgia so that he could run for Senate, it's because change was taking too fast in the post-antebellum South. The state had been flipped blue, and there are some principalities that were not prepared for a black man and a Jewish man to go to Senate at the exact same time. So they figured that they would delude us by picking somebody who they thought was better with a football than with a degree in philosophy. They thought we were so slow, that we were so stupid, that we would elect the lowest caricature of a stereotypical broken black man as opposed to somebody who is educated and erudite and focused. Y'all ain't ready for me today. Since Herschel Walker was 16 years old, white men been telling him what to do, telling him what school to go to, where to live, where to eat, where to buy a house, where to run, where to sit down, where to sleep, where to pay for abortions, where to buy a gun. And you think they not going to tell him how to vote? In 2022, we don't need a walker, we need a runner. We need somebody who going to run and tell the truth about January 6th. We need somebody who going to run and push for the cancellation of student loan debts. We need somebody who going to run and make the former president respond to a subpoena. We don't need a walker. We need somebody who will be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding, knowing that your Georgia, I need you to know the slave Negroes y'all are used to don't live here no more. We can think for ourselves, function for ourselves, and vote for ourselves. Why? Because we don't need a walker.
Be sure to like and follow Tavis Smiley at The Real Tavis Smiley and get Twitter updates at Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Inglewood healthcare workers, patients, and community leaders are urging you to vote no on Measure HC, the unequal pay measure.
HC raises pay for only certain healthcare workers, but workers at 73% of Inglewood's healthcare facilities get nothing.
In fact, Measure HC excludes workers at community clinics, urgent care centers, Planned Parenthood, and other providers that serve low-income and uninsured patients. HC will create staffing shortages and jeopardize access to quality health care for the most disadvantaged.
And Measure HC will increase healthcare costs by millions of dollars every year at a time when Inglewood working families can't afford higher prices.
Measure HC. Unequal,
Unfair.
costly.
Please vote no on HC.
Ad paid for by No on Measure HC. Inglewood Healthcare Workers and Providers. Sponsored by the California Association of Hospitals and Health Systems. Committee major funding from California Association of Hospitals and Health Systems.
At the United States Postal Service, we're here to deliver fast and reliable service to help you get holiday ready. We offer free package pickup and deliver free shipping supplies to your address. So whether you're in Garland, Texas, Rudolph, Wisconsin, or anywhere in between, we're making it easier for you to spread festive cheer this holiday season. USPS, delivering for America. For all your holiday needs, including info about free shipping supplies, free package pickup availability, and restrictions, go to USPS.com/holidays.
Sparkly and shiny and bold and bright. And this holiday season, Ulta Beauty has something for everyone on your list, even you. Because our kind of holiday is you having your kind of holiday with incredible must-haves, like the Dyson hairdryer and a new limited edition blue, shimmery palettes from Morphe and Tarte, plus fragrances from Ariana Grande and more. So revel in that holiday bliss. Head to your local Ulta Beauty or buy online and pick up in store. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful.
Hey, Los Angeles. This is Urban Magic Johnson. Today, our city faces a crisis. A crisis of violence, homelessness, and soaring rents. And nobody is better equipped to tackle that crisis fast. Karen worked in the emergency room, taking care of crime victims, making decisions that were a matter of life and death. She served as Assembly Speaker during the financial meltdown, doing the difficult work needed to rescue our state budget and protect the programs people rely on. As our next mayor, Karen would do what she's always done. When there's no room for error, she'll lead with her smarts and lead with her heart. On November 8th, please join me in supporting Karen Bass for mayor.
Paid for by Karen Bass for Mayor 2022, General. More information at ethics.lacity.org.
Let's unpack a little bit more with Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues right now.
I am Tavis Smiley. Glad to have you tuned in today to KBLA Talk 1580. Our phone number 1-800-920-1580, 1-800-920-1580. Our guest in this hour is the Chief National Political Affairs Analyst for this station and the moderator of A More Perfect Union, heard Sundays on the 10s, 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Nee Quarterline Corte. We're talking about a variety of trending news topics, political topics specifically. We played that clip before we went to break. We'll come back in a second. I just want to ask right quick, have you heard that clip, Nee Quarterline?
I have heard that clip, and we also played part of that clip on Foxhole's Black Report just yesterday. You are absolutely right. It has gone viral. I'm a part of a number of group chats, as I'm sure you are, and even folks on the group chat, we're sharing it around. And, what a closing argument that Reverend Bryant makes in that snippet. He really, what I understand Georgia voters are thinking about as they take to the polls. Tavis, Georgia's on pace to cast more than 2 million early ballots this week, and this is early voting in states nationally is taking shape. We know as of Saturday morning, more than 1.3 million voters have already cast their votes. This is according to the Georgia Secretary of State. And we know that Friday's totals mark 36% above what they were in 2018. And so Georgia voters understand there's a lot at stake in this midterm election for the state and for the country.
We're going to talk, as I said earlier, in our third hour today with Ira Shapiro about these 5 Senate races across the nation that will determine who controls the U.S. Senate. So in hour 3 today, an entire conversation for the hour about the Senate. It's hanging in the balance right now. So Ira Shapiro will unpack not just Georgia, but the other 4 states that will determine control of the U.S. Senate come next Tuesday. So we'll certainly talk about this race in Georgia between Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker when we get again to hour 3. But while we're talking to Nicola in this hour, it is interesting for me, Nicola, to note, as you just did, that the turnout in this race is humongous. I mean, there's going to be a massive number of persons who vote in this election because they understand that Georgia can make the difference in who controls the Senate and who drives the agenda for the nation. They understand this is a tight race. They understand that this race is a dead heat. What do you make of the fact that these guys could not be more different? Warnock and Walker could not be more different on the issues. Both happen to be black men. I've never seen a race in the history of this country that features two black men for the U.S. Senate, no less, that is as close and as heated as this race is. Even though they are dramatically different in their approach, they're dramatically different in style, and yet the race is, again, a dead heat. How do you read that? What do you make of that?
Well, it's interesting to me, this election cycle, how many sort of, celebrity-type candidates, reality TV candidates, how many broadcasters who really don't have a whole lot of experience in government, don't have a lot of experience in terms of, working with community to advance policy, to advance political issues. It's interesting to me how much oxygen a lot of them have been getting, and quite frankly, striking distance of winning their races. And so whether we're talking about Herschel Walker in Georgia, or we're talking about Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania, or we're talking about Kerry Lake in Arizona, I can go on and on, but it's interesting that these sort of, celebrity types, who really don't have a lot of experience to meet the moment, are in striking distance of really handing over control of the United States Senate to the Republicans, and taking over Secretary of State jobs, across the country, very critical positions, particularly at a time where our country seems to be teetering. Our democratic experiment seems to be at an unprecedented sort of risk. Historians have noted that in political violence and this sort of level of division in our country, since like the 1850s, it's a part of the reason why you've heard so many people talking about, whether or not, the country is sort of teetering on, some level of a civil war. And so I think, the race in Georgia is certainly an example of that, but it's not the only example.
Speaking of the race in Georgia, I've been reading a number of articles that are expressing some serious concern about one particular voting block in Georgia. This won't surprise you. We've had the same conversation about this same voting block here in the mayor's race between Rick Caruso and Karen Bass in L.A. You know exactly where I'm going, obviously. Black men are being dissected by just about every political theorist or scientist there is for the ways in which their votes are rendered. And again, here in LA, where this station is flagship, there have been a number of articles, a great deal of conversation about some black men supporting Rick Caruso, the billionaire, over and against the black woman who could make history, Congresswoman Karen Bass. And now in Georgia, the same thing. Stephanie Abrams has been asked about it as she's in her race to attempt to become governor of the state of Georgia. What is it that's got everybody turning and training their lenses on black men and how black men are voting?
I mean, I think a big part of it is that, Republicans have decided to start talking to black men, right? I mean, I think, black men have been sort of taken for granted, a lot of people say, particularly among Democrats, and they're responding to, folks that are not just talking to them, but talking about, the issues that matter to us more globally. I think there are assumptions that are made that, black men care most about criminal justice reform, or black men, care most about the decriminalization of marijuana, right? And I think those sort of play into some stereotypes of who black men are, right? But Stacey Abrams, you mentioned Stacey Abrams, she's been out in Georgia talking to black men about access to capital. Black men have black businesses too, right? And I don't think enough Democrats have been doing that across the country. And certainly with black women, really sort of soaring to the next level politically in our country, I think there are that don't necessarily feel seen or spoken to, and so surprise, surprise, there are some Republicans, that have attempted to fill that void for the past several election cycles, and they've made up some ground. That was a part of their strategy in terms of how they would tighten these races, right? And I think Republicans have also attempted to make folks like Herschel Walker into more sympathetic figures for some segments, of our communities. And so, but Tavis, let's not overstate it either, right? Yeah. Black men still vote largely with Democrats, not at the same level as black women, but certainly by far. Yeah. So let's not run away with this narrative that black men are somehow voting Republican in ways.
No, I totally agree. Nobody's running away with the narrative, not here on KBLA Talk 1580, but it is a story that one cannot deny and one cannot ignore. It's a major topic again here in LA and a major topic in Georgia, so much so that Stacey Abrams has been asked about it repeatedly and has responded to it. Killer Mike, personal friend of mine, a friend of this station, has been a guest on this program. Killer Mike met with the Republican governor, Brian Kemp, in Georgia, and that just raised all kind of Hades about why Killer Mike was meeting with the Republican governor. And so there have been all kinds of stories, all kind of tentacles off of this story about black men and how they are voting. Perhaps we'll come back to that for a few more seconds after news, traffic, and sports as we talk about some other issues that are trending on the national agenda as we are just 1 week away from Election Day 2022. You're listening to D. Quarterline Corte on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. Good thing we've got 3 hours. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
I'm Ray Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The oldest case of an unidentified homicide has been solved by the FBI. The body of a woman, long known as the Lady of the Dunes, was found on the shore of Provincetown in 1974. She's been identified as 37-year-old Ruth Marie Terry of Tennessee. Her cause of death was a blow to the head, and her killer apparently removed her hands in an effort to avoid positive identification. You still have a chance to get out and buy that winning ticket. The Powerball jackpot is going up. There was no winner in Monday's drawing, which means Wednesday's jackpot will be an estimated $1.2 billion. That marks the largest Powerball prize in over 6 years. And that's the latest. I'm Ray Harris on your source for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Siegel in downtown Lane has a ramp shut down 110 south toward the 10 west, causing a little bit of slowing from Wilshire Boulevard. In Long Beach, an accident on the 710 south of past Del Amo made it into the center divider. That's so from Florence Avenue. And watch for an injury crash in Orange on the ramp of the 57 southbound towards the 5 south. A little bit of slowing on the ramp. Also got a problem in Mission Viejo, injury crash on the 5 south of past Alicia Parkway, blocking the carpool and the left-hand lane. Now the freeway is stop and go, starting back at the 405, so allow extra time there.
Finding the right Medicare plan was no easy feat until I found Walgreens Find Rx coverage. Compare plans on and find plans with low-cost copays. When you need to talk Medicare, Walgreens is here. Start shopping today at walgreens.com/Medicare.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers can thank Paul George for helping them snap a 4-game losing streak Monday night. It was not a team effort. It was all PG. George hit a game-winning jumper with 6 seconds left in the fourth quarter to give the Clippers a 95-93 win over Houston. George carried the Clippers with 35 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, and 6 steals. Clippers coach Tyronn Lue said Kawhi Leonard will not make the trip to Texas this week for games in Houston and San Antonio. Leonard is still having stiffness in his right knee. An MRI exam showed that Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp did not suffer any structural damage in his right ankle during Sunday's loss to the 49ers. He said he'll be ready for Sunday's game at Tampa Bay. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by MVP Accident Attorneys. When it comes to your settlement, we're slam dunk. Call 833-MVP-WINS or check their website at themvp.com for a free case review.
When you're the victim of a car accident, hiring the right law firm can be the difference between a rewarding settlement and striking out. Call the pros at MVP Accident Attorneys at 833-MVP-WINS for your
Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader. Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews.
Follow the leader.
Stimulating conversations. Intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Hi, I'm Joe Gatlin, Vice President of the San Pedro Wilmington, Palos Verdes Peninsula NAACP branch. I am supporting Daniel Sandoval for the Los Angeles City Council. Tim McCoster's campaign is using bullying and intimidating tactics against local businesses and local individuals who don't support him. We need a healer, not a divider. I'm giving my full support to Daniel Sandoval for Los Angeles City Council and rescinding my endorsement for Tim McCoster.
Paid by Sandoval for LA Committee ID 1450022.
This Sunday and every Sunday is the African Marketplace and Drum Circle Community Market. Get free groceries, essential resources, and buy black from local merchants of arts, beauty, custom black merchandise, and more. Choose from a wide variety of cuisines, custom-made clothing, jewelry, and a lot more. Experience the true essence of Africatown at Leimert Park every Sunday from 11 a.m. to dance, enjoy live performances, connect with other conscious black people. Experience black excellence every Sunday in Africatown at Leimert Park. You can find us on Degnan Boulevard near Vernon and Crenshaw in the heart of Africatown at Leimert Park. That's the African Marketplace and Drum Circle Community Market. Join us for music, shopping, food, and fun this and every Sunday. Support black businesses, recycle black dollars, and feed your soul. The African Marketplace and Drum Circle Community Market every Sunday in Africatown at Leimert Park. Brought to you by Africatown Enterprise and the African Village Vendors Association.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Tavis Smiley. He is Nicola Corte. He is the moderator of A More Perfect Union, heard Sundays on the 10s here on KBLA Talk 1580. And do not forget, this Thursday night, he is wrapping up the fifth and final episode of our Agenda for America series. This one's called Agenda for California, an African-American perspective, moderated by Dr. Nicola Corte. The conversation features an all-star panel, including Secretary of State Shirley Weber, Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Thurman, LA County Supervisor Holly Mitchell, Assemblyman Isaac Bryan, and more. This Thursday night, 7 to 9 p.m., Agenda for California, an African-American perspective, right here on KBLA Talk 1580. And once again, all these episodes, all five, after Thursday night, of course, all five are available on podcast and in video format on KBLA1580.com and on the KBLA app. You excited about Thursday night, Nicola?
I am so excited about Thursday night, and I'm really honored, Tavis, to be able to moderate this conversation with so many heavy hitters. I mean, California Secretary of State Shirley Weber, oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco Department of Police Accountability Executive Director Paul Henderson, LA County Supervisor, Chair of the LA County Supervisors, Holly Mitchell. I mean, there's so much to talk about, as you know, as goes California, as goes the nation. And so I'm really looking forward to doing a look back and a look forward through the eyes of leaders that are in the arena, that are on the front lines, and that are really developing solutions and interventions that folks across the country and around the world are paying close attention to. And so I couldn't be than to moderate this conversation with so many leaders from my home state of California.
Yeah, I've said many times, echoing you, that what happens in California politics either cast a long shadow or a long sunbeam across the nation. And so people do look to California politics. And so I look forward to that conversation on Thursday night. Let me go back to this black men thing just for a quick second, and then we'll move on to affirmative action and some other topics I want to cover before I lose you at the top of the hour, so you can do your show, Fox Soul's Black Report today. The issue of black men. You think black men are being exploited? I hear your point about not putting too much on this, and I don't want to put too much on it, but is this much ado about nothing? How do you read the fact that this has become a trending story across the nation, black men and how they vote?
I think the voting history and voting patterns of black men is an indicator of our civic engagement, which shows up on election day, but it also shows up between election cycles. I think there has been a lot of investment and a lot of organizing work that Black women have done and will continue to do. But I think there's a segment of Black men that feel ignored and don't feel listened to, and feel like the issues that matter to them are back burner. Now that may not be the case. It may be a communication challenge. It may be a messaging challenge, but it's a challenge nonetheless. It's a challenge that anybody who's competing for the votes of Black folks, if you do not have programs that go beyond barbershop engagement, if you don't have proposals that can be socialized with Black people, not just Black women, but Black people at large, your seatbelt and get ready for various political parties to attempt to peel off segments of our community. And I would be remiss, Tavis, if I didn't also mention that a lot of these people that are attempting to peel off these votes are also making it harder for all Black people to vote, right? And so you put those two challenges together, and it could be a heavier climb, as we try to get out of this mess that we find ourselves in the current moment.
I'll move on from this. My concern, I think, is the same as yours. I'm not concerned about Black men en masse switching how they have voted historically. What I am concerned about is the peeling off, to use your phrase. I would call it siphoning off. I'm concerned about people siphoning off and peeling off just enough, just a significant slice enough of Black male votes to make a difference in races that actually matter. That's my concern. I mean, you look at the Trump numbers, you look at what's happening in Georgia, you look at what may be happening in L.A., in this mayor's race, there is concern there. I guess the final question on this is, if we're concerned, you and I are, and perhaps others are, about the peeling off, the siphoning off of a slice of the Black male vote, what then becomes the challenge to Democrats in the years to come to not let that become a serious issue?
Democrats have got to get better at communicating their wins, and also communicating their vision, and communicating what material difference it's going to make in the lives of their base, right? It's not enough to just communicate what difference these issues will make in the lives of Black women. I think, they need to be a bit more focused on the effects that this will have on Black men and women, Black families, Black men, and anything short of that, we run the risk, of the siphoning off, as you would say, of our vote, in addition to, the work that's already happening to make it more difficult for all Black people to cast their vote in elections across the country. Remember, we're talking about the margin of victory. And if you look at a number of races, from, president to Senate to school board member and beyond, a lot of these races, the margin of victory is razor thin. And it almost feels like it's getting thinner and thinner by the day. And so we can't afford to dismiss, this very serious challenge if we're to hold a Democratic coalition together in order to do big and bold things.
Yep. I have a brother who I love dearly, and we've been close close. And yet, I've decided that I really can't discuss politics with him anymore. And the reason is that even though Tavis Smiley is his brother, he just doesn't see it the way I see it. And he's one of those Black men who are affected by the politics of the Democratic Party and how he feels he's being taken for granted. He's not a Republican by any stretch, but he is very, very disappointed with being ignored and being taken for granted. And he opens himself up to, I think, sometimes conspiracy theories that are strange, that are bizarre, that are scary. But I have to contend with that in my own family. You might not imagine that Tavis Smiley, Mr. Progressive, would have to deal with that in his own family. No. So when I raise this question about Black men, it's because it's hitting me in a visceral sort of way in my own family, with one particular brother who just, and maybe one or two others, who he's starting to convince that Tavis is wrong and he is right. So it's a fight that I'm in perennially inside of my own family. I digress on that point. Let me come to the Supreme Court. We all know, because we are all concerned about the future of affirmative action. So yesterday, the Supreme Court took up these two cases, and there's not a whole lot to talk about here on a certain level, because it's just a matter of time, I think, sad to say, a foregone conclusion, sad to say, that affirmative action, as we know it, is about to end. But KBJ did a brilliant job yesterday, and Court Line pushing back.
She did an outstanding job, and what a difference it makes when we're at the table, what a difference it makes when we're at the room, when we're in the room. Mm-hmm. The argument that she had made really around equal protection, what was, I thought, pretty brilliant. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I have enough friends that are, and there was a point that she made during the arguments where, she said, what if, there's applicant one, who's from North Carolina, would be a fifth-generation, graduate, of the University of North Carolina, and, want to sort of uphold the legacy of their family and attend it. And juxtapose applicant one with applicant two, who's also from North Carolina, whose family has been there for 5 generations, and whereby they might be the first person in their family to attend the University of North Carolina. And want to bring honor to the legacy of their family in that way, right? And so, she really put the question, to the lawyers and affirmative action. She put the question to them, how does this not violate equal protection, right? What's wrong with race being a factor among many factors to be considered in a holistic review of an applicant, looking to be admitted to the University of North Carolina. Now, she recused herself from being a part of the arguments for the Harvard case.
That's right.
She had served on an advisory board, but she was very much present and active and engaged in the oral arguments related to the University of North Carolina case. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the court rules on this, because remember, the University of North Carolina case, it really, she's really underscored what is the difference between race-conscious admission and legacy-conscious admission, right? And so if you're saying that there's a problem with race being a consideration, well, do you think it's a problem? If somebody is fifth generation, attendee of that university, right? And that generation, is it as problematic as race-conscious consideration among many factors? And so it's going to be interesting to see how opponents of affirmative action sort of square that. Yeah. Is this court willing to not only get rid of affirmative action, but as a result, get rid of legacy being considered as a part of admissions to colleges and universities?
Yep. No, it does make a difference that she's there. As I said before, weeks ago on this program, I know that Thurgood Marshall must be cheering wherever he is when he hears KBJ just brilliantly expose the fallacy of many of these arguments that the Supreme Court has to hear. And yet, sadly, it's not going to change the vote when all is said and done. So we will continue to follow the story about affirmative action in the U.S. Supreme Court. But again, not holding our breath that we're going to win this one. But this is the point that Nicole and I made earlier. This is why elections matter. Elections have consequences. Consequences like who sits on the U.S. Supreme Court. I digress on that point. Our remaining moments with Nicole and Quartet when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
You have the right to remain silent, but don't let them hear you on KBLA Talk 1580.
California college students, are you ready to earn cash for community service? I'm Aisha Cairo, and I can tell you how, thanks to CaliforniaBlackMedia.org. This is your K-Black Minute News. The first hashtag Californians for All College Corps Fellows will begin during the 2022-2023 academic year. Students can receive up to $10,000 for completing a year of community service. College Corps is a statewide paid service program that provides meaningful work to college students that helps them graduate on time with less debt while benefiting the local community. According to Governor Newsom, College Corps is about restoring the social contract between the government and its citizens. This public investment builds a community of service members. Over the next 4 years, College Corps will engage 13,000 California undergrads. Find out more at californiavolunteers.ca.gov.
Vote Heidi Felstein Soto for LA City Attorney. Heidi is running to stop corruption at City Hall, to protect neighborhoods from crime and illegal guns. And as the first woman ever elected LA City Attorney, Heidi will stand up for reproductive rights. That's why Heidi is the only candidate endorsed by the LA Democratic Party, Planned Parenthood, the LA Sentinel, and the LA Times. Vote Heidi Feldstein Soto for LA City Attorney. Paid for by Heidi Feldstein Soto for City Attorney 2022 General. Info available at ethics.lacity.org.
The all-new Gardena Nissan is proud to be a partner of KBLA, and right now during their fall sales event, 0 down delivers any new or pre-owned car at Gardena Nissan. They're located conveniently on Redondo Beach Boulevard at Western, and they specialize in helping folks out who have no credit, bad credit, bankruptcies, or repos. The folks at Gardena Nissan will take fantastic care of you and help you get into the car you need and deserve at a spectacular price. Visit them today or shop online at GardinaNissan.com. The all-new Gardena Nissan is right now during their fall sales event. 0 down delivers any new or pre-owned car at Gardena Nissan. For the best deals, log on to GardinaNissan.com. 0 down on approved credit. GardinaNissan.com. Roll out.
Conversations that matter. You're listening to Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580.
Nicola Cortez, somebody said it's okay to use race to exclude us, but never okay to use race to include us. Go figure.
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise, exactly. That's what we're up against with this Supreme Court hearing on affirmative action. In the few minutes I have left with you, so you can make room, I can make room for you to get ready for your Black Report show on Fox Soul. Very quickly, midterms. Again, 1 week away from today. What are the 2 or 3 issues that you're tracking that you think really are going to make a difference between who wins and who loses 1 week from today?
I think it's all going to come down to turnout. Some of these races are just so close. It's going to be really about who's able to turn out their supporters to make a difference. Right now, more than 1.16 million North Carolinians have returned ballots so far. We know that Democratic turnout lags by about 3.5% compared to 2018. This is according to the Carolina Journal. In places like Illinois, we've seen that almost 500,000 voters have returned ballots, and another 290,000 have voted in person. And so, we're seeing these record numbers, but what we don't know is record numbers of who. Right, and so we assume that this is largely Democrats, but keep in mind that Republicans are pretty energized on their side of the aisle, and so it may be a very long election night. Election night may take a week. Waiting for provisional ballots and vote by mail ballots to be cast. We know that the polls are tightening in so many different races, and being that our flagship station is in the City of Angels, I know a lot of people are paying extra close attention to the race for Los Angeles mayor, where billionaire businessman Rick Caruso has now spent upwards of $80 million. $80 million to defeat the front runner, Congresswoman Karen Bass. These polls are tightening, and the Bass campaign will remind folks, that early voting has started. You can drop off your vote by mail ballot now, and the last day to do it is on Election Day, right? And so a lot of candidates are encouraging folks to create a plan. Don't wait till the last minute. Create a plan to cast your vote, because on Election Day, which I think could vary election week as we're waiting for results, I think we're going to be counting every ballot. And don't be surprised if your ballot is a part of that very slim margin of victory.
Yep. Speaking of margins, I've said many times that we cannot afford at this point in our history to lose elections by the margin of our absence at the polls. And so Nicola is right. At this point, I'm not even sure so much it's about what issues are going to trend. It's really about turnout. That is the word of the day here on KBLA Talk 1580. Turnout. Nicola Cortez, I'm going to let you run to get ready for the rest of your day, but thank you for unpacking with us in this hour. We look forward to your conversation Thursday night, Agenda for California, and African-American Perspective with that all-star panel. I'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Thank you, Tavis. You take care.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We don't try to be all things to all people. We just remain true to who we are. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
It's time to represent your neighborhood. It's time to be a voter. When you vote, you get to decide what is best for you, your neighborhood, and your family. Use your power. Don't give it away. You don't have to wait to make your voice heard. Make a plan to vote today. Visit plan.lavote.gov. That's plan.lavote.gov to learn how you can vote in the upcoming November election.
The Institute for Diversity Certification is all about the 3 Ds: dedication, determination, and discipline. Learn more about our globally recognized diversity certification program today by calling 1-800-983-6192. Again, 1-800-983-6192. Or visit diversitycertification.org. As the #1 organization for certified diversity professionals and also certified diversity DiversityCertification.org will provide an opportunity for you to demonstrate dedication to the field, determination to make progress, and more discipline to your process. Go today and learn more about the Diversity Certification System. Call 1-800-983-6192. Again, 1-800-983-6192. Or go to DiversityCertification.org. That's DiversityCertification.org. The standard of excellence, equity, diversity, and inclusion.
Did you know that most of the judges in our courts are former prosecutors and corporate lawyers? This election, you can vote for community lawyers to be your local judges instead. I'm Carolyn Gian Park, and I'm running for judge of the Superior Court Office 118 in LA County. I chose a career representing working people and defending civil rights. I believe in accountability and rehabilitation. Vote for change. Vote Park for Judge, Seat 118. Paid for by Park for Judge 2022 FPPC 1446510.
Interrogating your assumptions and expanding your inventory of ideas. Let's get back to Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580.
We thank Nicola Corte for joining us in this hour. He had to let him go to give him time to get ready for his show on Fox Soul today. But what a great hour unpacking some of the issues that are on the minds of voters as we cast our early ballots, early votes, and get ready for going to the polls 1 week from today. As we said a moment ago, turnout is key. So if you have not cast your ballot, we encourage you to do so by or on Tuesday, November the 8th. In the third hour of today's program, we'll kind of pick up on some of the issues that Nicola and I teed up in this first hour, specifically about the races that will control the U.S. Senate. Ira Shapiro is our guest in hour 3. His book is called Broken: Can the Senate Save Itself and the Country? Ira is an expert. 60 years, 60. He's covered the Senate, written a trilogy of books about the U.S. Senate, and so there is no better guest to speak to about the U.S. Senate than Ira Shapiro. And we're going to talk about the fact that the fight to control the Senate is anyone's guess right now. The fight is a dead heat all across the country. As you heard Nicola say a moment ago, these races are heating up, and the races are not just heating up, but they're tightening up. There are essentially 5 races that will determine the outcome of who controls the U.S. Senate: Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Georgia. As I look at it, there are 1, 2, 3 black men. Speaking of black men, how we vote, 3 black men on the ballot in those 5 races, 2 in Georgia, Walker and Warnock, and 1 in Wisconsin, Mandela Barnes. Mandela Barnes was a guest on this program, I guess a week or 2 ago. This brother could win a seat in Wisconsin, and there's a race in North Carolina that a sister could win in the state of North Carolina. So it's a significant number this time around of black folk on the ballot. Val Demings, of course, in Florida, running against Marco Rubio. So a number of African Americans on the ballot as the 2 finalists in a number of states. And so we will see if Democrats can hold on to the U.S. Senate about these 5 races in Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Georgia with Ira Shapiro when we get to hour 3. And there's a great deal more to talk about that Nicola and I did not get to in this hour. But when we come forward in the second hour of today's program, he is one of the top motivational speakers in the country, and his backstory is quite fascinating. A personal story of overcoming drug dealing, overcoming drug and alcohol abuse. And now, one of the premier sought-after speakers in the nation. But he's not just doing it for himself. He's actually training thousands of other individuals to learn how to take their marketing and their message to the world. As I look forward to a conversation with Jeremy Anderson in the second hour of our program today. So, should be a great show the rest of the way. Again, thanks to Nicole Line for joining us in this hour. When we come forward, Jeremy Anderson will join us for a conversation about what he calls next level living. Next Level Living is the name of his company, and that is the message he's spreading to persons in this country and around the globe. So, after news, traffic, and sports, Jeremy Anderson joins us here on the Tavis Smiley Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.